844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. But I got a hot one. As you know, by the way, some poll numbers out. And Edwards is come way down, way under 50%, the 30s and 40s, depending on what poll you look at. That's just a fact. His better numbers are in Baton Rouge to New Orleans because, well, the markets I'm in, he's way down. The markets that are pushing him, hook, line, sinker, everything they're throwing at, protecting him is his best numbers, Baton Rouge to New Orleans, because they don't know. I mean, I hate to say it, they don't know the truth. And I'll give you an example. And the Advocate did it again today. They let John Bel Edwards do a guest column, and he wrote on, here's how Louisiana's making progress. And every bit of it is chopped up with misinformation, and I ain't gonna, maybe lies, but no truth. So I'm going to go over this. He says there's a fresh breeze blowing in Louisiana. I'm not talking about a start of fall. I'm talking about a breeze of hope that's taking over our state. Hey, Bel Edwards, those people that are moving out, that talk to me on this program, that I know for a fact we have an out-migration problem, why are they leaving if there's so much hope out there? Why are they out-migrating? Why are young people getting jobs in other places? And people that called, what was the one yesterday, the day before, said he was 41, said he's gone.
A breeze of hope? Is that the breeze, that same breeze that's going through Louisiana right now, where it's hot as hell outside?
Yeah, that would be closer, Brandon. Breeze of hope. With many of our most, now listen to this, Bel Edwards, with many of our most difficult challenges now in the rearview mirror. Brandon, education, economy, roads, out-migration, unemployment. 5 months in a row it's raised up. Jobs. We got $7 billion in new taxes. And according to PAR, Robert Travis Scott, we got another $1 billion deficit in 2020. And this guy says all our problems are behind us. All companies are being sued. People in all business are going to Texas to work. But our problems are over, folks. What he means is state government has plenty of money because I led the charge with the help of all the Democrats and a few Mickey Mouse Republicans to pass $7 billion in taxes. But he says all this stuff's behind us, folks. By the way, just in the own newspaper and the Advocate, there were stories that I shared with you the last couple days where don't get too excited about what's happening with the economy. I just gave you numbers. Albrecht saying, hold up just a second, Here's one. Data releases show disappointing Louisiana story. Now, this is Melinda Desolate. She writes this, and the Advocate comes back and gives Bel Edwards a puff piece. She gives all these stats that we did last year, and that was one of about 3 or 4 stories that's popped up. There was another one that popped up in the Advocate. 8 bad things happening to the state. 8 statistics that spell trouble in Louisiana. And they talk about all these numbers. Yet Bel Edwards is talking about something that makes no sense. I don't see what he's talking about. But in Baton Rouge to New Orleans, where people are not told anything, we have no radio or any other media that's challenging what this guy's doing. He's just getting a free ride. He says but lots of hard work and a sustained commitment to put Louisiana first, those days are behind us. As we have learned, he says, Louisiana is projected to have $300 million surplus for fiscal year 2018. The surplus is available to us because Louisiana's businesses are doing better. Well, yes. Donald Trump gave corporations a gigantic tax cut from 35 to 21 or 22%. They are doing better. The rest of the states are rolling. We just kind of chugging along, but yeah, they're doing better. What did you do to make them better? Nothing. He says more Louisianans are finding work. Yes, they are. It's called Texas. An improving economy has allowed corporate tax receipts to outpace expectations. Yes, Donald Trump. Now, this is how they deceive you. Well, listen to this. I just told you the facts. Unemployment has climbed 5 straight months to 5%. It's climbed upward to 5%. Bel Edwards says in this article, since I've been governor, unemployment rate has fallen from a high of 6.2 to its current rate of 5%. No, it didn't. It was 4 something. And for 5 straight months, it's gone up. Okay? It's gone up. He doesn't say that, does he? What kind of jobs are being created here, too? Let me tell you something. Because later in the article, he talks about the income being up. They count Medicaid. We got the friendliest Medicaid program in the country. 477,000 more people hooked on government health care. They're counting that. But if you read another article, Lauren Scott says that the income's up because of construction, and this is not permanent jobs. I'll get to that in a minute. Unemployment's going up. It's not going down under him. It's going up. $7 billion in new taxes. Here's another one. That's another one. He says Republicans, Democrats, and Independents did all that, and we still reduced the tax burden on the people of Louisiana by $600 million. Yeah, I like this. He's saying they cut taxes $600 million after they raised them $7 billion. I take that any day. I take that every day. You only got to cut $600 million, and you got $7 billion in new taxes. Folks, think about that. $7 billion in new taxes. $7 billion, and you're sitting here saying you cut $600 million for the taxpayers. God have mercy. Unbelievable that this man would say this. Within weeks, a national credit rating. Well, the national credit rating has gotten better because of the $7 billion in new taxes. But according to the same people he's talking about in another article, that the credit rating has us at the very bottom, still at the very bottom of for the future if we would hit a recession or something. That we're at the bottom. We're at the very bottom. They didn't fix anything, folks. He said we stabilized funding for higher ed and fully funded TOPS and GO grants. Then why did we have to increase fees on students $500 to $600? It was all stabilized. He says thanks to the Medicaid expansion, we're saving hundreds of millions of dollars. Medicaid expansion generated $3.5 billion in economic activity. Get a check from the government, and that's your economy. Created more than 19,000 jobs. And provided $175 million in state and local tax receipts for our economy. He is bragging. He is bragging about taking money from Medicaid. And by the way, he says Trump administration praised his efforts. Wait till next year, Brandon, during the election year. We're going to see how much Trump likes John Bel Edwards. Watch and see if I'm wrong. Anyway, I want to finish this because he talks about he inherited a shortfall. I want to get to that as well. We'll take a break. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. We'll be right back. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. By the way, I wanted to finish up one more thing. I've got phone callers. I know y'all been waiting a while. We'll get to you. A couple more things on this Bel Edwards piece. And this is what I told y'all. It's played so many times, people believe it. Baton Rouge and New Orleans don't have a clue because they read the Advocate and the Times-Picayune. He says in his article, not too long ago, we were facing a $2 billion budget shortfall. Folks, that was never true. That was never, ever true. And I tell you why. Jay Dodd, when he said he balanced the budget, he said they raised $1.4 billion in taxes, which is an outright lie, and they cut the other $600 million. They didn't cut anything. Okay, you can't cut. Their cuts are not cuts. Okay? There was never $2 billion. That is a lie from hell. Bel Edwards has done it. The Advocate has done it. The Times-Picayune and these people that put that stuff out. There was never a $2 billion deficit. Ever, never, never. Wasn't even close. But they were throwing around the numbers because nobody else could grab the numbers. The same exact thing Bel Edwards accused Bobby Jindal of. Well, they're throwing around these numbers. We can't get the truth. They get in there and they twisted the numbers. There was never a $2 billion deficit. And he said, the $2 billion shortfall that I inherited from the previous administration, that is a lie. He voted for 6 of 8 Bobby Jindal budgets. 6 of 8. He didn't inherit the budget deficit. He voted for the budget deficit. He just didn't vote for the last one because he was running for governor. He wanted to say he voted against it. Bel Edwards voted for the budget deficit we got. He didn't inherit a dang thing. Let me say it again. And Aunt left me some money years ago. Wasn't much, but I was thankful for every nickel, every penny. That was inheritance. I didn't earn it. I was in the will. Thank God I was. That means I didn't do anything wrong while she was here. That was an inheritance. That is an inheritance. And I told the governor this too, to his face. What you didn't inherit it, did you? Voted for it. Now, my car note and my house note, I signed a note on that, folks. That's mine. That's my responsibility. I take credit or claim or credit or whatever you want to call it. It's on me. Bel Edwards votes for all these budgets, voted to get rid of the Stelly bill, which everybody in the press said, that did it, that destroyed us. Bel Edwards voted against the Stelly bill, which they claim did all this. I mean, he voted to get rid of the Stelly bill, which they claim did all this, but he never gets in trouble. He didn't inherit the budget. He voted for it. He earned the budget deficit. It wasn't $2 billion, about 1.4 at the most, but probably around 1.2 billion. And so if Edwards to keep putting this, because the Advocate keeps writing it, and the Times-Picayune keeps writing it, and Greg Hillman keeps writing this, and they know they're wrong, but they keep saying that because here comes, we're within a year of the election now, next October, folks. This is all you're going to get. Even though we'll give the Advocates some credit, Melinda Dessel and some of these other people talking about the real economy that's here. You can't just, this guy's supposed to be honor code. This is not honor code for a budget deficit you voted for. You voted for a lot of Jindal stuff. I mean, you got John Alario right there, the Senate president, who was there when Jindal was there, and he's there for Bel Edwards. He's been there since every governor since, I don't know, one of the longs. Before the country started, the states was started. The first governor, John Alario, probably was the Speaker of the House. This guy runs everything he touches, but nobody gets on him. And Bel Edwards, that's his leader. And then you got the great Jay Darden. The great George, yes, man, he knows that budget falling backwards. Jay Darden just helped pass $7 billion in new taxes. And he's sitting in a position as co-governor, in a position he got 15% of the vote, and he told people, just like Jeff Flake did, he flipped us off. And that's what happened. No $2 billion budget. I'm sick of hearing it. I'm going to keep going after it till people realize it was not a $2 billion budget deficit. Republicans ought to know better. They ought to be jumping up and down about this. But they can't because they voted for Jindal. And a lot of these bozos voted with Edwards. $7 billion in new tax increases. Julie Stokes, a leader for Edwards, a floor leader for Edwards, out there running for Secretary of State. Yeah, that's what we need. We need another liberal Jay Darden rhino in the Secretary of State's office. So he didn't inherit anything. He voted for it. It was on him. If this is honor code, I hate to see if this guy didn't have any honor code in him. What he'd be saying. Let's go to Paul in Lake Charles. We'll start with you, Paul. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, Moon. I got two things. Since we're talking about the state, I'll start with the state. I hope everybody that voted for Bel Edwards, whether it be Democrat or Republican, has suffered along with the rest of us. I hope they have suffered some pain in their wallet.
Well, but let me tell you something. They got two kind of people. They got people like you and me that are staying, trying to fight it, and you got the people that are getting the heck out of here. Our migration is still a big problem in this state, and jobs is a big problem. I don't care what Edwards says.
If I could leave, I would too.
Well, it is a problem. It's going to stay a problem as long as we elect people like this to run the state. And the people in the press, the Washington press has moved down to Baton Rouge. They pick sides. Edwards is king. Man, this guy's great. Poll numbers are showing him stronger in Baton Rouge and New Orleans because they don't get any news down there challenging him. None. Zero. Zilch. Ever challenges anything he says or does. And I'm telling you, there's another side, and I'm giving it to you.
The next thing is McFlake. You know who I'm talking about?
Yep.
McFlake is pulling on John Alario, I think. I think he's trying to reinvent himself as a Democrat. That's why he's hanging out with him.
Well, look, that's fine with me. I wish he'd change right now because he's looking like a total rear end in the way he's handling this. He looks horrible.
He looks like a John McCain idiot.
He looks like he's darting the whole country. I'm telling you.
He's just trying to stab everybody in the party.
What did Jay Darden do? Jay Darden was rejected. He stabbed Vitter in the back.
Same thing.
And then he got his $237,500 salary, which was up from the guy before him in administrative. And then he's going to retire $14,000 to $18,000 per month the rest of his life. All he's got to do is finish out the third year. That was a fact that nobody wanted to deal with.
I never could understand why does somebody in the state get paid that kind of salary to begin with?
Well, dude, what do you think the $7 billion in new tax increases were for? It's not fixing roads. It's not fixing roads. It's not fixing the unfunded accrued liability. It's not fixing education. It's not fixing higher ed. Okay? It's not making income go up. It's not doing it. We got a governor bragging that the federal government gave me billions and billions of dollars, and this has created 19,000 jobs. I'd like to see where they get the figure from. And by the way, the income's up. Income's up. We take the Trump tax cut, they steal that. They raise more taxes. Talking about the income, things are heading in the right direction. Yeah, state government is growing twice the rate of our GDP.
All we have is a giant slush fund.
There's no doubt about it.
All right, Moon, that's it. That's my rant for today.
All right, appreciate the call. 844-766-6607. Hickson has that hotline if you'd like to be part of the program. Well, I'm just telling you, folks, when they start this $2 billion, it was never $2 billion. They cannot prove it was $2 billion. When they tell you how they fixed it, and they say they cut $600 million to fix the $2 billion deficit, that is an outright 150,000% outright lie. They did not have a $2 billion deficit. They did not cut $600 million out the budget. They can never prove that, but they're going to say it because we have nobody in the media, in the Edwards pro media, that is going to ever challenge him on anything. And if you read some other stories, Melinda Dessel and some of these people, they have written some stories. They really have, and I've been sharing them with you. You know, here's one right here, the Advocate editorial. The state surplus is good news, but don't get too used to it. And they talked to Greg Albrecht, okay, the economist. And he said, but it's a modest improvement. Modest. And all this stuff came from the Trump tax cut. And Medicaid expansion is your economy? Medicaid, we ought to see how many people we can get off Medicaid. Not how many people we put on it. Not how many people we hook on it. How many people we get off of it. Not Bel Edwards. It's how many we can get on. It's the opposite way, and that's why we struggle. That's why we last. All economies booming good, and Edwards writes a puff piece, but it doesn't make any sense. None of it's true. Took a $2 billion. There wasn't no $2 billion deficit. Wasn't even close. We cut $600 million. A guy going to talk about cutting taxes, raise taxes $7 billion, and talking about cutting a measly $600 million. I take that all day, Brandon. I'll give you $10,000, Brandon, and I'll take $500 from you, and you're bickering about the $500. You're bragging. I gave Moon $500 back. Oh, I bet you did. I bet you are excited about that deal. I bet you'd make that deal every morning at 6 o'clock. If I told you to come here, Brandon, I'm going to give you $10,000, you got to give me $500 back.
My wife would love that deal, too.
Oh, I'd make that deal with anybody. Brandon, I'd do it with $10 and $5.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of 7 days, I got $35 more than I had doing nothing but meeting you here at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
And this is all it is. And a $600 million cut is a bunch of bogus stuff. And the Medicaid expansion, you still bragging that the federal government sent you money. Where did they get these 19,000 jobs? That's what I want to wear. What 19,000 jobs? Unemployment's going up. I can tell you right now, if they had increased 19,000 jobs in this state because of Medicaid, our unemployment rate wouldn't be going up. It's going up 5 months in a row. It's something, and you can write all this in PR and talk about the honor code all you want to. That's not the deal. I'm telling you people, honor code, there's no honor code in politics. There's the honor code in the Kavanaugh investigation. And the Kavanaugh deal? Do you think that's honor code? Jeff Flake's dealing with the honor code, folks?
What they're not telling you, too, about Medicaid is that a lot of these businesses that opened up over the last few years because of the Medicaid money flowing in, a lot of them are closing back down, and you're having a lot of people that are leaving Medicaid because of the stresses that they have to deal with in dealing with all the changes that they've made. There's a lot of stuff that's not being told that's happening within these industries that are being funded so heavily by Medicaid.
I saw a deal the other day, a poll that said Obamacare is popular. Let me tell you why, Brandon. Medicaid expansion is part of Obamacare. You're getting something for free.
Yep. Federal
government's sending you money. We're running up $1 trillion worth of debt a year, but we're giving you We're giving you free insurance. Free health care. Then you got people, because of the way this is set up, do you realize if you make, I think, $94,000, $96,000, you can get subsidies? You get subsidies, and that was Obamacare. Mm-hmm. So now the state and the federal government's paying you, and you just have a small premium for great insurance. Oh, my God, Brandon, how many people does that figure into? A bunch. Bragging about how many people, the number of people without insurance has dropped tremendously. Yeah, but we're going to go broke trying to keep up with it. It ought to be, we added 477,000 people on Medicaid, but in 2 years, that number's down to we just 250,000 because our economy's doing so good, they were able to go get jobs and get their health insurance through employers. And guess what? That ain't happening. Shit, they want to put a bunch more on there. They want to put all they can put on there. It's a phenomenal thing to watch, and you're bragging. Brandon, that'd be like me. I give you $10,000 and you go out in the community of Lafayette and you go give $4,000 to this function and one for kids and one for women and all that, and you gave out $10,000. And you bragging out there that you gave out $10,000. I gave you the money. And I see, thanks, Brandon Como has been awarded the
Good Samaritan Award.
Good Samaritan Award of the year in Lafayette. He gave $10,000 of his own money. And I go, Brandon, I gave that money to you. You went out there and gave it to these groups out here, and you getting all this. It's my money. You gave it to me. I can do what I want with it. This is what Edwards and them are doing. This is a bunch of punk. And you got to deal with the pro-Edwards press, and they're loaded up in Baton Rouge and New Orleans because they knew he didn't win the election, folks. Vitter lost the election. People got all upset, but I'm going to tell you what, if you're not upset about what's happening with our economy, as the rest of the country booms, we're dragging along and struggling. Everybody got a brand new truck, and we still in dang Volkswagen. The tires go flat all the time, the engine doesn't work, the all light comes on all the time, and we're bragging, well, at least we're moving. We're moving in the right direction. Way behind everybody else. Can you imagine Edwards winning again? How many more taxes this guy's going to try to go for? $7 billion ain't going to be enough, folks. That's what bothers me. This thing about the budget. This thing about. I'm just telling you, this is wrong for him to be doing what he's doing, but this is what the press is doing. So you read other stories. Economist Greg Albrecht told a state top education board the Louisiana economy has showed a little bit of promise. But he doesn't expect the economists to recommend a boost in the current fiscal year spending. Albrecht said we got fueled by better than expected personal income and corporate tax collection, which should be Donald Trump. Albrecht's message is that while the outlook of the state is positive, some of the reasons driving the surplus don't involve underlying economic trends. State still has one of the highest unemployment rates in the nation and continue to go up. I don't think I can say this is all about income and employment growth. The chief legislative economist said it's really very modest growth. So, $7 billion worth of new taxes. We're bragging. We're getting mega money on the Medicaid. And look, folks, I'm all for helping poor people. Never said I wasn't. And I'm all for helping people. I think we ought to have a safety net to help people. A lot of people don't need help. They need to help themselves. We're making it easy to be poor, and Bel Edwards is a part of that. This $7 billion in tax increases is to buy votes. We're going to buy state employees. We're going to buy teachers. That's next year. This is all this is. Only to come back, if Edwards was to win, he would be telling, well, we need some more taxes. We don't need any more taxes. $7 billion is more than enough. Wagaspak, CEO of Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, says the recent rise in income is mostly the result of state construction companies landing big projects around the globe. He says some of the best industrial contractors in the world are based in Louisiana. But that's not what they're doing the work. They've raised See, this is the taxes they don't talk about. They raised utility taxes on business. They implemented a new manufacturing machinery equipment tax. Without the legislature, Edwards signed an executive order making it more difficult for manufacturing companies to qualify for the industrial tax exemption program, leading to potentially higher property taxes. The last several sessions, there's been a repeated attack trying to tax manufacturing inputs, suing the oil companies. Okay? It's all anti-business policies. And by the way, the average Louisianan makes $7,000 less per year than the average American, Brandon. You realize that? $7,000 less. Jim Richardson, Louisiana LSU economist, you shouldn't read too much into it. 1 quarter doesn't tell you very much at all. You really want to see sustainability, and they can't talk about that. I'm just telling you the truth, folks. You run with whatever you want to. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. Anyway, if you'd like to be part of the program, open line for you if you like to be part of the program. By the way, it's a breaking story. Christine Ford, ex-boyfriend, says she helped friend prep for potential polygraph. Ford had said she had never been around a polygraph or ever took one. California professor, directly contradicts a testimony on oath last week that she had never helped anyone prepare for a polygraph examination. You know, Brandon, once again, all the focus is on Kavanaugh. I wonder if they put the scrutiny on her. If you'd have had, the lady was being real nice to her, but if somebody would have been asking her some really tough questions, I think she'd have folded right there on the stand. So she has helped, according to an ex-boyfriend, Brandon doing like the Democrats. I believe him. He said it. I believe him. I believe he's credible. I mean, this guy's credible 100%. Let's go. Get up there, put in jail. She's credible. That's what the Democrats do. These are United States senators. I'm not a senator. These are United States senators. I'm not a senator. I believe him. He said it. I believe him. Former boyfriend, his name was redacted, and the declaration also said Ford neither mentioned Kavanaugh nor mentioned she was a victim of sexual misconduct during the time they were dating from 1992 to 1998. Never said a word. Said he saw Ford going to great lengths to help a woman he believed was her lifelong best friend prepare for a potential polygraph test. He added that the woman was named Monica McLean, had been interviewing for jobs with the FBI and the U.S. Attorney General, that Ford helped her, but Ford thought, never helped anybody. He further claimed that Ford never voiced any fear of flying, even while aboard a propeller plane, and seemingly had no problem living in a very small 500-square-foot apartment with one door, apparently contradicting her claim that she would not testify promptly in D.C. because she felt uncomfortable traveling planes, as well as a suggestion that her memories of Kavanaugh's alleged assault prompted her to feel unsafe living in a closed space or one without a second front door. There it is, Brandon. Well, Brandon, I believe him. I mean, why shouldn't I believe him? He's a guy. I got to believe the guys. Now, folks, I'm joking, but that's what the Democrats are doing. It's a woman. You got to believe. You know? All right, that's just not right. I'm just telling you what an ex-boyfriend said. I don't know if this is true or not because, see, I don't know. But I'm not like the Democrats. Should I jump on it? Brandon, he's a guy. We got to believe the guy. I mean, but this. Remember I tell you all about Satan, confusion, how this is how we get destroyed. That's exactly in the playbook of the Democrat Party, the party of hate, confusion. That's the devil's play. And that's what they've done with all this. You know, I can't believe Flake and Collins and Murkowski can't see this. I mean, you got to almost be blind not to see this. But I'm not talking about blind like in you. I mean, just you see something, but you I see this telephone right here, but I say that's not a telephone. You know, I see this Cubs shirt that I'm gonna throw away today. I see this Cubs shirt in my hand right here, but I deny that it's a Cubs shirt. This is the confusion that's being created by the left. This is what they do with inner cities. This is what they do with minorities. This is what they do with everybody. I mean, she lives in a 500-square-foot apartment with one door, but says, I don't like to live in small places. I always want a second door. She claims she never helped anybody with a polygraph test, and this guy's coming forward, Brandon, check this out, with a name and what she did it for. Never said anything about Kavanaugh. 4, never expressed the fear of closed quarters, tight spaces, or places with only one exit. Don't you think, Brandon, that's only 20 years ago, don't you think all that stuff was bubbling all them years? So, anyway, I don't know if it's true or not. But if I was a Democrat, I'd say, man, the brother is right. The brother is right. He's always right. That's what Democrats do. By the way, it's amazing. Reuters ran a poll. All this election stuff going on. A third of registered voters. I believe that. A third of registered voters do not know the name of their party's candidate for office. But you know why I believe that, Brandon? Because you got all these, remember we talked to Ms. Free yesterday, you got all these people registered to vote that really don't care about voting. But on election day, the left can go around and drive up and pick people up and tell them how to vote. They know their voters, a lot of their voters have to be told how to vote. They have to have a list on what to vote on. But most of these people that are registered to vote, a third of them, I believe a minimum of a third of people that are registered to vote, they care less about voting. I've been saying that. But we got to register people to vote at the driver's license, the welfare, the Social Security office. No, we don't. These people don't care. They don't know the names of anybody. Let's go to Rick in Lafayette. Mr. Rick, how you doing, sir?
Wonderful, Moon. And you made a great point when you talked about, the Democrats, if it's a female, you have to believe it's a male. You don't have to believe it. And my point is, and it has to do with the Republicans, how they're, of course, they've been wishy-washy on this whole thing. But they've been going along with this narrative that Kavanaugh and Ford are both victims. I don't agree with that for 1 second, but it seems like that's what they've been saying. They're both victims. I guess trying to play the both sides of that fence, I guess. Either one of the other's lying. I personally believe she's the one lying. But they're not both victims. One is or the other is, but they're not both victims. And I think the Democrats are pushing that just in case some harmful information comes out.
Hold your thought. I'm going to hold you over. Hold your thought. We'll be right back. All righty. Welcome back, Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. Avenatti back at it, merged with a new song, new allegation. And Brandon, by the way, they out of all the allegations, that's the one that nobody's giving credit, but the Democrats are. They're giving no credibility to it. That's why you see Booker and all these people calling what they're calling for. And it would be a PR game until this thing's voted on. If Kavanaugh's not voted on for, I just pray to God we make this such a campaign issue. Can you imagine what the Democrats would look like if they get beat at the polls? I don't know what's happening. I could never predict what happens at polls. Well, except I think Edwards is a one-term governor. I believe that, and I believe it all my heart. And if it's not, we in so much trouble, it's not even funny. When you're bragging about Medicaid expansion as economic development, and I'm looking at all these other numbers, and I'm looking at what the feds say, and all that, and none of them are bragging that their economy grew because of Medicaid expansion. Okay? Let me just share this with you. T-Bar, we coming to you. Thanks to Medicaid expansion, this is Bel Edwards now. This is what he's writing. And Brandon, I don't read none of these articles. Nobody's state is growing because of Medicaid expansion. Thanks to Medicaid expansion, we're saving hundreds of millions of dollars of state general fund and improving health outcomes for the working people of our state. For 48 million state investment, Brandon, spending billions. I'm spending 48 million. Medicaid expansion generated $3.5 billion in economic activity, created more than 19,000 jobs, and provided $175 million in state and local tax receipts in our economy. That's what they want, Brandon. $175 million in state tax receipts. On top of this, Trump administration praised Louisiana's efforts. We'll see next year if he's praising you. Medicaid expansion, the only state in the country bragging that the economy's growing because of Medicaid expansion, and everybody else and everything else you read, they're bragging about their economy, their manufacturing jobs, all that. Not us. Medicaid expansion, economic development, and the rest of it. And this is what happens. One day Medicaid's not going to be able to pay everything. It's going to engulf us. And number two, those states that are not dependent on Medicaid expansion to grow, they will continue to grow. And if things slow down, they're not going to be hurt like we will. You can't try to explain that to a writer for the Advocate. You would be all day trying to explain that to him. Let's go, T-Boy in Lafayette. How you doing, T-Boy?
Well, one of the important parts of being a Christian is forgiveness.
Okay.
And people around this area have a problem with forgiving people for anything. And they didn't want to forgive David Vitter for what he did. They wanted to get David Vitter. And Bel Edwards played everybody here for a damn fool. That's what happened.
Well, I mean, the
played
other
on
thing
that
too, you
vindictive streak that they have around here.
Well, you had
a
couple of Republicans really put a knife in the back of Vitter, and that probably played as big as anything.
Yep.
And one of them got to be co-governor.
Yeah, one of them got to be co-governor, the dear trial attorney. That's the kind of people that flourish in this environment of vindictiveness. Trial attorneys and all these lawyers and all these laws they force down our throats. And they're trying to do in the guy that's running for Supreme Court.
By the way, is it safe for me to say that Edwards is part of the Democrat Party? He went to Mississippi to raise money. Trump went to Mississippi to raise money and do a fundraiser for the Republican. Edwards went to Mississippi to raise money for the Democrat to beat Trump. And he'll tell you, watch. They're going to say, well, he might be in the party, but it's not like Washington. It's exactly like Washington. The media has made it like Washington.
Well, I'm really hoping this economy will pick up this next couple of years.
I do, too.
I'm looking to go take me a long trip overseas and have some good times. That way I know I can come back and get me another job,
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens.
I really hope something happens. I'm getting old now.
Yeah. I hear you. All right, brother. Appreciate the call. By the way, Brandon, you ready for this? Celebs try to make voting sexy. I'm not making this up. Slide it in for that first time.
Oh, no.
I'm looking at it.
Oh, man.
It's quite the video.
Oh.
First 30 seconds of an ad was an all-sexual. And they got these people that are squirming in their seats with embarrassment, as explained the first time. And they talking about their first time, Brandon, and then it changes over to go vote for the first time. This is the left. This is the left's way of voting. And here we are talking about sexual harassment. Gee whiz. Unbelievable. Brian, I'm just celebs use sex talk to encourage voting. Slide it in. I'm about to go home and ask my wife what they're even talking about, right? Don't you explain it.
No.
I'll let her explain it. I could call my mama, but I don't think I'm going to. Jack in Bossier City. Jack, how you doing?
Good. What's up, Moon?
Hard work and dedication. At least I tell people that.
Yeah, what was that slogan they came up with?
The slide it in for the first time.
Slide it in for the first time. That kind of correlates to that pound me too movement.
I guess so. And see, I was getting ready to say that we're getting a little deep here, but I shouldn't say that, so we're not going there.
Yeah. But you had a guy calling yesterday, former law enforcement guy, and asked a question. I got another one for you. Why did Dr. Ford go upstairs to the bathroom? Have you ever seen a house that didn't have a bathroom downstairs?
I would say if you got upstairs, you will have bathrooms downstairs. Probably, my gut feeling is more than one. I got 1, 2 downstairs and 1 outside. So I got 3, and I have upstairs. And I got 2 upstairs, but you don't have to go upstairs in my house to go to the bathroom.
And when you're downstairs, do you go upstairs to the bathroom?
No, I don't. I don't ever hardly go upstairs, period, because that ain't where my room's at. Yeah. But I go check on the kids from time to time.
They're on the bottom floor, and she goes. She's in a house that she's never been in before and doesn't know where it is, but she goes upstairs to the bathroom.
But if you look at what the Democrats are doing now, except for Avenatti, they're not even talking about this anymore. They're talking about his temperament. They're talking about how he handles stuff. And the bottom line is, even Flake got it right and said, if I were to react, I don't know if you can find that. Flake reacted to, on the 60 Minutes, is that basically said, I would have did the same thing he did. And then he comes back yesterday and said, I don't know if we need that kind of temperament on the Supreme. He sounded like the Democrat, just like he did with the FBI.
Even the way he said it on the 60 Minutes, though, was very weak and just kind of faint in the background. He said, the guy was in a tough position.
Well, he was, but all of a sudden he's talking the Democrat Party talking points again.
Yeah, one last question, Moon. Who's the most conservative Supreme Court judge that we have?
Well, the one we had is dead, but Justice Thomas is probably as conservative as anybody.
Clarence Thomas was attacked in the Anita Hill. He was a moderate conservative and then went far right. You know, with the attack that the Democrats have done on Kavanaugh, he's going to get appointed, and don't be surprised if he doesn't go the same way, and I'm okay with it.
Well, we'll see. I'm just curious. Look, I'm like everybody else. I really want this to be over. I do, Brandon. I want it to be done. I want Kavanaugh to win. If he doesn't win, then I wish they'd reappoint him. What the Democrats have done here. Everybody with a brain can see it. The rest of them vote Democrat. We got a break. We'll see you tomorrow.